Hey, GW coming to you live. It's about, I don't know, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I just got done watching Five Nights at Freddy's. Excuse me. Lot to this film. There's a lot to digest. First of all, before any of you hardcore gorehounds decide you want to check it out, this movie is PG-13. I did do some research. Much like Megan before it, it was released in the PG-13 format. However, an R rated cut of this movie is not what the director wanted to do, um, because he figured if he did an R rated cut, he would lose 90% of the audience. I'm sorry, she would lose a lot of her audience. The director's name was Emma Tammy, and I think she did a heck of a job. Having played the games on Xbox and Game Pass like a year ago, maybe, I actually enjoyed them. They were creepy enough to spook you out as a kid. Um, if you were a kid, it would creep you out. But as an adult looking at this, it's very creative. There's a lot of lore to all these characters. The movie addresses it, but I guess you have to play every single video game to know exactly what's going on. And that I didn't do. I skated through them, like I just said, on Xbox with the cheats on. I thought they were very, very creepy. Um, if you haven't heard of this franchise, or if you guys been living under a rock, or just never gave it a chance, it is actually a neat little movie because the movie gives the security guard some backstory, and he's a guy who I don't know has a troubled past. He was a security guard at one time, and he had an incident, and it's shown in a flashback, and things didn't go too well in his favor. He's been bounced around from job to job. He has a he has a daughter. He has a sister named Abby, who is played awesomely by Piper Rubio, and she actually does carry the film, guys. Josh Hutcherson plays the role of Mike, the security guard, and believe it or not, Matthew Lillard makes an appearance as a counselor, and one other role which I'm not going to get into. There's a twist ending at the end of the film, by the way. But there was a lot to this film, and even though it wasn't a hard R, there are some wicked kills in this. One girl, Kat Connor Sterling is the name of the actress. She gets her head chopped off, and it's done in a sort of bloodless manner. There is some blood in here. We see a stabbing. We also see what happened to the former security guard that worked at Fazbear's Pizza, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, rather. Um, there's some animatronic deaths. The atmosphere of the Freddy Fazbear establishment, though, guys, is really quite creepy. Imagine spending 5 nights in a Chuck E. Cheese without any electricity, or I should say faulty electricity, and just those creepy animatronics around you. Not making not makes for it doesn't make for pleasant sleeping. But like I said, the big thing here is the story. The story is kind of slow paced. The animatronics are done really, really well. Um, Striker Entertainment Studios has done a great job with the animatronics, makes them cute yet menacing. There's a lot of backstory to each of the animatronic characters, and it's really, really dark actually for a kids movie. There's not a lot of scares in this movie, but it's fun to watch because it's one of those ones that you go into and you say, I don't think this is going to be any good, or it's just going to be a popcorn flick. And it actually becomes a fun movie to watch. Um, but anyway, uh, Mike in the movie, you see flashbacks, and it pretty much carries the story, has a brother who disappeared when they were really young. Somebody took them. In searching for who took his brother, the the dark history of the Freddy Fazbear establishment is sort of brought to light. So the disappearance that Mike is dealing with also bleeds into or deals with what's going on at the Freddy's where he works. And overall, I mean, this movie had some slow moments, but it was always entertaining to watch. Um, and it was actually surprisingly, like I said again, dark, for a kids movie. Now, like I said, having played the games on Xbox, one of the things that you know Emma Tammy did keep in the film was the throwback to the games where some shots are seen on security video. And I'm trying to think of how many people get killed in this film. Let's see. So we'll go through it by the guard at the beginning. He gets killed. Therefore, the job opens up, and Mike gets the job. Um, there's another death, an animatronic death toward the end of the film. There is a stabbing, a beheading. Uh, let's see. I think all in all, there's about 6 deaths in this film, 5 or 6. The one thing though, the door is left open for a sequel. And if you guys played the game, then you know there's Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I wonder if Emma Tammy is going to make this a franchise. The other thing is that this film was done by Blumhouse Productions, the same people that have brought numerous horror films, to our doorstep. And they've done a really good job of making it a creepy yet entertaining piece of film. Rounding out the cast is Mary Stuart Masterson, who plays Aunt Jane. Aunt Jane in the film is that aunt that you would just love to see get killed. I mean, you really would. Um, Very wicked, very mean woman, and you want to see her get her, just desserts. Matthew Lillard as Shane Reagan. He is the sort of career link sort of person, you know, unemployment, person. He finds people jobs. So he is also, one of the ones that helps Mike get a job. Elizabeth Lale as Vanessa. Vanessa is a cop in the film, and she sort of explains to Mike the sordid history is also of Freddy Fazbear's place. Also, she also helps him, do his thing and get, acclimated to his new job. The movie runs about 1 hour and 49 minutes, and it was a very, like I said, very entertaining piece of footage. The one thing, though, is that you really have to pay attention to this movie because a lot of the things that are crucial in this movie are done through dream, like in a dream state. When Mike goes to work, he puts on his headphones, checks the cameras, he goes to sleep, and he sees the victims, if you will, the victim children of the incidents that took place years ago, and they sort of guide him, and he finds out that it actually what actually happened there. Um, there is a twist ending, like I said. I didn't see it coming. The animatronic suits, though, some of them are very, very creepy, and I I was really impressed. Even though it's kid fare, I would put it up there with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. That's another PG-13 film that I really do like. This one, I would make it a double feature. Now, this film is not for everybody, but reviews have basically said, hey, not scary, but fun, creepy, but not over the top. A 13-year-old could watch it. It's streaming free on Peacock, so, I mean, what have you got to lose? Check it out, you know? So, real quick, I was just looking up reviews, and apparently there's a lot of people. The film is divided. Either people hate it or love it. Um, the Daily Beast actually says it's not worth a single evening. Well, you don't want to make an evening out of this film. It's an hour. It's an hour and 49-minute runtime. You can't stretch that into 8 hours a night. So they got that wrong. Now I did skim the article real quick, and basically, it seems like if you don't like the games, you're not going to like the movie. What I did like about the movie is toward the end of the second act, going into the third, the plot and the torrid history are revealed very, very explicitly in this film, and basically, the Mike's daughter is being targeted by the animatronics, most notably William Afton. And William Afton is a serial killer who killed all these kids back in the late 80s. And he actually is the one that controls Freddy Fazbear and Chica and so on and so forth. And it becomes actually a little bit of a fight for survival. Now, being that this is kid fare, none of the fights equal to the fights we see at Willy's Wonderland when Nick Cage takes on the same type of murderous animatronics. All in all, though, having read all the articles and, seeing how the film is divided among critics, I really thought it was fun. I mean, I went into it not expecting much, didn't know much about the lore, but it turned out to be a pretty entertaining, piece of film. And it's perfect for, 13 and 13 and older, who are just below the R rating range. There's a lot to dissect. I'm sure if they make a sequel and they expand on the lore as well as go into more of the murderous, you know, tendencies of these characters, and being that this is only the first movie, they could probably pull, stuff from the games. But whenever I heard what actually was going on with these animatronics in the movie just now, it was just like, whoa, this is pretty dark for a kid's film. I mean, you have ghosts, inhabiting animatronics. You also have, bodies being stuffed in animatronics. Really dark, sort of morbid stuff. But it's shown in a very tame manner. And I think part of the appeal of this film is that, we can all relate. If we ever been to a Chuck E. Cheese and we look up at the animatronics when we're real young, it's like seeing a rodeo clown. We freak out and we get scared, but we don't know what we're scared about. And I think this film in some ways brings that feeling back to where we can go, you know what? Yeah, that is creepy. That is. And what if, in our wildest fantasies that, let's just say Chuck E. Cheese was inhabited by a serial killer? It wouldn't be as frightening, but it would still be creepy as hell. And that's why I think this film is pretty good. I'm glad I watched it, and I'm glad it's on Peacock. But I wouldn't buy this film for like $20 or $30. No way. But again, this was done by Blumhouse, the people that have done Megan, and countless other horror films. And they really, really, really did good. And if you know the games, you'll probably see a couple of callbacks. You'll probably recognize it better than I did. And Five Nights at Freddy's is actually a decent watch. But like I said, it seems like people all over the place are divided on it. I really thought it was cool. And it was also a blast to see Matthew Lillard, in a role again, because one of his most famous roles, two of his famous roles really were, in Scream 1 and in a film called Salt Lake City Punk, which kind of went underrated, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. If you haven't seen that, check it out. But yeah, definitely an interesting movie. It's a very slow, sort of medium-paced film that, like I said, has critics and fans divided. I actually didn't know anything about the games coming in, and I thought it was a pretty decent watch, at least for, under 2 hours. So that's my take at Five Nights at Freddy's. So you can take it for what it's worth. Also, I didn't know this, but when you watch the animatronics from the beginning to the film to the end of the film, they have a different look. And I didn't know there was different versions of characters, so you can check that out. Now, William Afton, his animatronic looks pretty wicked. He looks like a giant yellow rabbit that came out of the grave. So it's definitely worth checking out. The acting, the acting is actually, I would say, your typical video game fare. Serious, but not serious enough to be taken seriously, but not so comical that it's laughable. It's actually medium dialogue. The scenes between Mike and Abby are very, very, very good. And like I said, that little girl carries that film like you wouldn't believe. And I hope that even though this might be her first movie role, I don't know, but I think if she keeps acting the way she does and putting on one hell of a performance, a believable performance, she will be one actress to watch. So that's my take of Five Nights at Freddy's. Hope you enjoy. And like I said, I mean, I never listen to critics because if a critic says something bad, usually they're looking for an Emmy Award winning film or a, you know, perfect film, But some movies are just fun, and that's what this is fun. Goofy, animatronic, fun. And I really dug it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. That's my score, Five Nights at Freddy's.